plans marijuana banking vote announcement in the next few days, but outlying issues remain. Senate Banking Committee Chair Sherrod Brown hopes to announce the scheduling of a marijuana banking bill vote in his panel in the next few days, with plans to hold the markup during the current work session that ends October 6th. But he also acknowledged that there are still some outlying issues that need to be resolved among members. While a committee spokesperson told Marijuana Moment on Monday that the vote would not be taking place next week, as some cannabis industry observers have speculated, Brown says the actual markup date could be scheduled imminently as senators move towards the finish line in negotiations. We need to make sure we have enough votes, and I mean there are still some differences, still some members that still have. I'm not going to publicly talk about negotiating and what people are asking for or not. There's still some outlying issues, minor ones, but we hope to get some people on board and get a strong vote. Yada, yada, yada. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. At this point, the Safe Banking Act has 42 co-sponsors, nearly half of the Senate. That includes 8 Republicans and 3 independents. As a standalone in its current form, insiders say the measure has enough Republican buy-in to reach the 60-vote threshold needed for passage in the Senate. Brown and Daines spurred over next steps for the bill in the lead up to the August recess. Brown has insisted that Daines needs to secure more GOP co-sponsors. But Daines argued that Republicans are prepped to move the legislation as previously agreed through the floor. Yeah. Stuff. That's just Washington bullshit. My take on outlying issues is these jagoffs don't want to put through a Senate banking bill when they look like they are trying to shut down the government. So if we get through the government shutdown without trouble, which I do believe they will come to an agreement on another CR and keep the government working, then you'll get your safe banking vote. That's what I think. Outlying issues, my ass. That's bullshit.
I thought the outlying issue was that they wanted 9 Republican co-sponsors and they only have 8.
They did at one point want 9, which would get them past possible filibuster, make it filibuster proof. But, you know, we've already said multiple times to good old Chucky Schumer, we got the votes, we got the support, we're not going to filibuster this bullshit. You need to bring your people to your people to the table and vote for the thing. It's Chuck Schumer, doesn't have the Dems. Shocker, Dems suck, don't want to pass safe banking.
That's why you should vote red in this next election.
Vote red, vote for me.
That'd be a good tagline for you, Gretchen.
Jay, I personally don't believe anything that has to do with anything about safe banking. Dale, you remember this. Like when we were doing time in prison, there was always this circulating rumor that we were going to end up getting 65%. And everybody was like, 65% coming this year. 65% coming this year. And guess what? It never came. So, you know, I really hope safe banking passes. I want it to have some criminal justice provisions. Doesn't look like it's going to be able to do that. That's really shameful. I still want it to pass. I just don't believe anything the politicians say regarding it.
Well, I mean, I have to say that I happen to agree with Gretchen on this, is that if we're able to maneuver and get a continuing resolution passed as far as the budget and avoid a government shutdown, then everything is queued up for safe banking. The thing is I'm not super confident in Kevin McCarthy's ability to round everybody up, both Democrats and Republicans, in regards to secure a continuing resolution.
Crack.
Just saying, I don't see it.
If this passes the Senate, it's already been voted on the House. So why do you even care what Kevin McCarthy can do? I'm
talking about in regards to whether or not there's going to be a government shutdown. I'm saying I don't think he's going to be able.
There's going to be a shutdown. You heard it here first.
Okay.
Been through shutdown.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Miss Washington Insider, who's happened to be on the West Coast, missing out on all that little swampiness.
Oh please.
I think a lot of that, like the shutdown rhetoric is just a lot of political posturing and theater.
It is.
Saying they do it, they threaten. You might even get sometimes like what we had in 2018, a few days where they actually shut it down and then they figured stuff out. I'm not really worried about that. This is my issue with safe banking. They say, "Oh, we have these minor issues," but then they say one of the minor issues is we don't have enough people to come on board. So to me, that 10 threshold, like they keep like circulating, oh, we have 8, we have 7, we have some independents, yada yada. That 10 threshold, I think, is going to be very difficult to get from the right unless
It's not
there's some
necessary,
concession.
Luke. You don't need 60 votes. You need 51. Republicans have said they are not going to filibuster. We're ready to pass it. We're ready to do it because Chuck, you can't. You got Republicans on board. Having 8 Republicans on board, number one, of a cannabis bill is a huge win for this industry. To 8 people publicly on the Senate side willing to do this. And trust me, there are many others out there who won't put their name on it, but they ain't going to stop it. They don't like Sherrod Brown. They don't like Chuck Schumer. So they want to ram this down their throat that the Republicans can get cannabis through, not them.
They're going
to pass.
I mean,
they want to ram it down their
hear what
throat,
you're
huh,
saying,
Gretchen?
but I think the end result is Biden's name gets signed onto the bottom of this. I think they don't want that bad enough to where they will hold back on their vote. That's my take on it. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope that this gets passed and we can get some progress going. But
and not that you're wrong, but there is also more impetus behind doing things with the whole Schedule 3 announcement. That is kind of lit a fire under these guys of shit, F you, the other agencies are going to do it, and they don't want to get left behind. And so they're like, all right, we can pass cannabis stuff to you.
I think the DEA is going to come down and slap them back into reality.
What?
I think the DEA is going to come back and slap them all back into reality.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I was just going to say that the Schedule 3 thing, let's remember that this is just a recommendation to the DEA. Mm-hmm. The DEA actually disregarded their own judge's recommendation back in the day. I believe it was Judge Francis. Maybe Dale can touch in on that.
Yeah, Francis Young.
Yes, Francis Young. And he was very eloquent in what he said. He said, if the DEA keeps this as a Schedule 1, it's arbitrary and capricious, and implored them to drop it to reschedule. They disregarded their own judge. So for them to like say, hey, Javier Becerra, we're going to listen to you now. Again, super skeptical. I hope I'm wrong again. But man, listen, there's not a lot of hope there.
I actually hope that the DEA does come and slap them back in the thing and tell them, no, we're not gonna reschedule this, because I don't believe that it's a fair trade-off to move it to Schedule 3, give it to Big Pharma, and then get 280E relief when there's not even any guarantees that any of these businesses are going to be able to continue operating.
You do realize DEA doesn't think that way whatsoever.
What's that?
You're 100% wrong, but go ahead.
I don't care if I'm wrong or right. It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you what I'm willing to trade. And to me, this is like a Brittany G trade-off.
I think ultimately the Congress has to move cannabis or marijuana out of the Controlled Substance Act altogether and put it someplace else. Otherwise, these bureaucrats, they have too much invested in their own fucking bureaucracies. And ultimately, the DEA are cops, and it's like talking to the California Narcotics Association. They are just never gonna walk away from this.
Yep.
So, I think that this needs to go through Congress and have them move it out, put it into like ATF, so it's handled like alcohol and tobacco.
Yep. ATF and TTB.
Not playing these damn games.
Yep.
Aren't the DEA and Health and Human Services both part of the executive branch of government? So at some point, Biden's on top of this organization. Can he get these two people to harmonize?
The DEA, the DEA
doesn't care.
The DEA is not part of the executive branch.
If the DEA comes back and says Schedule 1, Biden's like, I was right all along. War on drugs, yay. Biden doesn't care if it is or not.
He's just doing it to pander to voters.
He doesn't remember his own name. The man is not. No.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, Dr. Mark, you are correct that Biden does oversee both agencies technically, but Biden could have changed this by himself long ago. He didn't need any of these agencies to tell him to. I understand a lot of times they need political cover to
that's not true.
Things like that, but
that's not true. The president
Biden had his opportunities.
The president cannot deschedule cannabis on his own. That is not true. That's a falsehood.
Oh, he definitely could with an executive order.
He cannot.
Now,
you cannot. No, I'm sorry, bro. You cannot legalize cannabis and deschedule cannabis with an executive order by the president. That's not a reality.
There's international treaties and there's other things involved that
Well,
precluded.
there was a reason.
We've never had a priority for treaties in the past. We can break treaties today, even the present.
Okay, well,
Trust
great.
and
If it
believe
was
it.
an executive
Biden,
order,
with
why
the
didn't
stroke of
Obama
a
take care
pen,
of this years ago? Why didn't anybody else step up years ago? It's not as easy as you think, Luke.
It's
well,
that's
it's
not reality.
easy because it's not popular in the Hill.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
in
not
the
popular
courts,
in the
not
Hill,
gonna
but
be out.
Cannabis is
I don't-
just coming to the place where we can actually even have open conversations and committee meetings. So to ask like somebody like Biden, who was a member of this mass incarceration movement from the very beginning, sponsored the bills that went into effect, for him to be able to say like, look, I'm going to have this change of heart. That's not Biden. Biden's not doing it because
well,
Biden
I
is
will tell you,
politically not able to. Let's put it like that.
Biden's issue has nothing to do with his background as a prosecutor or the war on drugs. It all has to do with his son. It has to do with Hunter Biden and his issue with drugs. And it doesn't matter if cannabis is the drug or not. That generation, when you have a child addicted to drugs, they're all bad. That's Biden's problem with it. That's why he's willing to go the research side, the Schedule III side, the medicine side. That's as far as he's willing to go.
Well, and I don't think the court would allow an executive order to do this. We had a case recently about the EPA and how much Congress granted the executive authority. And the court said, no, you got to go back to Congress to get that kind of executive authority. So I don't think he would get through the courts very far either.
Yep, exactly. Can't do it.
And I absolutely agree with what you guys are saying. However, the executive authority abilities have been so drastically expanded over the last few years that perhaps it would get tied up in court. Perhaps it would go to some judges that are favorable to the executive branch. Listen, these things are very touchy. The executive powers over the last, I would say, 30 years have been expanded to a sense that have been really created the president to do whatever they want to. Now, that, like I said, that doesn't mean that the next president can't change it or that the courts can't shoot it down. However, if President Biden did want to deschedule with the stroke of a pen, he could do it. It could be under challenge, but it would be in effect until otherwise.
No, he cannot. He cannot do that. He cannot do that.
Because it's not
he cannot do
something
that.
he
That's
can
not
do.
true. That's not reality. It's not. It's just not.
No, we've seen a lot of really extreme executive orders come down over the course of the last few decades.
Somebody would file a suit for declaratory relief and you'd be in the courts, and then there would be a stay issued. I mean, right now the pendulum is swung back away from executive power in our court, especially the Supreme Court. They would step on this. And I mean, we can have all sorts of intellectual arguments. I just don't think it's going to go very far. And I hope you're right, Gretchen, that these D as an artist and get their head out of their ass and figure out how to get something done here. But, I remain, not that optimistic about it.
Hopefully optimistic. And